If you have not seen all of the videos that we have been putting out here in the Facebook group, over on Instagram, from my dear friend Tracy Litt.
Right now you're saying once XYZ happens, then I'll finally feel whole. Once XYZ happens in my business, then I'll feel successful. Once my kids XYZ, then I'll feel like a good mother, right? And you're living in this paradigm that we teach of conditional happiness, which means you are dependent on what's going on outside of you. As soon as you start to embody the emotions first, what you think you want changes because you're no longer waiting on the emotion to come. You're generating the emotion inside of you because that's how powerful your inner environment is. And then fun facts, your frequency is elevated, your field is more potent, and you're actually attracting what is available. 80% of the thoughts you think are driven from the body to the mind, not from the mind to the body. That's why affirmations alone are incomplete and won't take. Your body is driving your thinking. It's coming from the level of your nervous system. And because you haven't sat through a profound class like this just yet, and you've been believing your thoughts, you attach to that level of thinking. Self-doubt is a gorgeous, gorgeous indication that you are actually becoming her. Self-doubt is amazing. If you are not experiencing some self-doubt, you are staying way too comfortable. Do you ever wonder why doubt and imposter syndrome doesn't come hanging out when you're on the couch watching Netflix? Because you're safe.
What you've been seeing is actually snippets from when Tracy came and served inside the Free Mama membership last year. And I shared this in an email. I don't know if I shared this with you, Tracy, so I'm just going to be really transparent. I was nervous. I had this feeling of like, are they ready for this? Like, are they going to receive what she's about to throw down? Because it's some powerful stuff. And luckily I got out of my own preconceived notions about deciding who gets to be ready for anything in this life, and invited Tracy in. And the conversations that I have seen happening in the membership since you spoke, people talking about regulating their nervous system and just all of these things that weren't really a dialogue that was happening. We talked about mindset and things like that very consistently, but the language they're using, I'm like, oh, we're ready for this. Oh, we need this. And so Tracy reached out to me and she just said, hey, I'm having this big event coming up. And I'm like, well, number one, I'm signing up. And number two, how can we tell more free mamas about this? Because only the people inside the membership have gotten to meet you. So Tracy, for anybody who doesn't know you, who's going to watch this, who are you? What do you do? How do you tell people about sort of what you do? Because you use what I would say is like big girl language. You're talking about consciousness. You're talking about, it's not just like mindset, right? It's you're using big words. So what do you do? How do you help people and serve this entrepreneurship community that we have?
Yes, thank you so much. I just adore you, and I love hearing that everyone's speaking differently because it means, right, when we learn something new and then we apply it or we continue to discuss it, we root those new neural pathways together. It's one of the ways that we actually change our brain. So, yay to you and your magnificent audience and community. So I'm Tracy Litt. I am the mom of three very grown young women, 18, 20, and 21 years old. 3 months away from being empty nesters.
Woo! Now,
More
most
on
of us
that
here are
later.
in the thick of it. A lot of
Right.
us.
And I just listen, I want you to know I've been there, I get it, and enjoy every second. I'm going to give you a quickie love moment. Stay present. Don't wish it would slow down. Don't wish it would speed up. Don't argue with reality. Enjoy them, enjoy them, enjoy them. Keep nurturing yourself equally the way you nurture them. They don't come first. They ride tandem with your growth, your dreams, right? Your expansion, because then you model a new way of being, which we need desperately. And when they inevitably do what they're going to do, which is turn 18 and become contributing members of society, you will not be a worthless puddle on the floor. You'll be like, get it, go. I got things to do. I'm ready to rock. So it really can be quite the beautiful experience. So there's
I love
that.
that so much.
So what do I do? What do we do? I founded the School of Becoming, which is a school where we help you evolve your identity so that you can experience and create a different reality, right? There is healing and growth and reconnection to your body and re-imprinting your nervous system and shifting your relationship with fear and learning how to think differently. All of these things are the lever, I call it the internal lever, we have to pull, especially as mothers and especially as entrepreneurs, because the entrepreneurial game is this amazing journey that you decided to take, but didn't read the fine print. That it is truly the personal growth journey that you never knew you needed to have, nor did you think you wanted to have, but nonetheless, here we are. So we've created this space where that's all we do all day long is help you become the woman you're capable of becoming.
Why is this so important? Go deeper into that. Like
Yeah,
why is this something we can't not do? Why is this
right.
something we can't not look at? How does it
Yeah.
catch up with us? What ends
Yeah.
up happening when we
Mhm.
decide not to shift
Mhm.
things and
Yeah.
become?
Yeah, totally. It's such a great question. So, who you are right now in this moment, and I'm going to make a few general assumptions because of the live stream context we're in, but who you are up until this moment, you didn't choose. Okay. You were born into a certain family, you observed certain things, you were forced to believe, because when we are born through 7, 8 years old, we're all subconscious mind. We're like a video camera that's turned on 24/7, 365. And whatever the people that rear us give us is
Mhm.
what we internalize, right? So we have those things that are going on. And a very important core thing to know is while we are younger, and we're all subconscious mind, we're also very egocentric beings as human beings, right? So when something happens, we internalize it. So you're fighting with your sibling and your mother pulls the toy out of your hand and says, can't you just share? And instantly your very unconscious mind goes, oh my God, I'm not enough, or she wouldn't have yelled at me. And oh, look at those
Oh my
fireworks.
gosh. Are
It's
you
gonna have me going
matching?
crazy. I don't know. It's extra magic for you guys. Extra magic. So, we internalize that moment and we make it mean I'm not enough, right? Let's say you hear your parents fighting. You can't help it. You guys, you didn't choose this. It is what is. You hear your parents fighting and then you go, well, if I was better today or more lovable, they wouldn't be fighting right now. So we have this unconscious habit of internalizing everything. And so the I'm not enough game begins.
Mhm.
And this is really important. No one is immune to this. Mine used to be, I'm not smart enough. That was my special flavor. And we all have these different things. And then as we grow up, because we're not taught this in schools, and I'm working on that, we then remember what that feels like. So we don't make the soccer team, or we're not invited to the birthday party, or we get punished. We go, oh, I know what that is. I'll add that to my I'm not enough file. And we deepen that whole thing that we're in. And then that becomes the lens through which we see the world. And it completely infuses the integration of our identity. And to your main question, what happens if we don't look at it? Well, you're running a program and conditioning you didn't even choose. So that's not cool, right? Don't you want to believe what you want to believe and create a congruent belief structure so you can achieve all the dreams you have and be a present mother and make as much money as you desire? So it's really understanding that if we allow who we've always been to remain, then what we're doing is we're building a life out of external validation, I'm not enoughness,
Hmm.
constriction, adaptive behaviors like control and perfectionism, and other type of adaptive trauma responses. And then we get burned out and we start to have moments like, I need to pivot. I'm exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing this for. I can't actually feel my body. And there's a whole different way to experience life when you realize you're a spiritual, energetic being having a human experience, and your reconnection to your body is your intuition and your power, and the trust in the thing bigger than you, whatever it is, universe, greater intelligence, source, Jesus, God, I don't care what it is, just let it be true for you. That and this is the game, but we spend too much time here.
Mhm.
And we think and we overanalyze and we overthink and we run down the rabbit holes of hell and we consult 76 people before we make a decision. And the only way to get out of that, truly, like sustainably, not just like I read an affirmation and I feel better for a minute, is to evolve your identity and become the version of yourself that it's no longer relevant for perfectionism to be around, right? The I'm not enough game doesn't occur because you stop self-internalizing everything, and so on and so forth.
Hmm. My flavor is I don't matter. I saw someone in the chat also has a I'm not smart enough narrative. So you are not
Yeah.
alone, either
I
of you. You have each other. But yeah, mine always comes back to the I don't matter. And I can look back through my whole life and
yeah.
see both where those things came from and then the actions I chose to compensate for that. Like I mean, I can just like watch my whole life from that narrative. So it's really interesting.
Yes.
So
Yes.
one of the things that I see and have seen for the last 7.5 years with this beautiful community of free mamas is there are a lot of fears that hold us back. This is sort of the breeding ground for self-employment, right? It's a lot of people who were either staying home full time or they were in a traditional job until they woke up one day and said, this is not bringing me the life that I want. What else is out there, right? And they
Yeah.
started either as a service provider, freelance, whatever. They got their jump start. And then we have these things kind of at each level that stop us. And fear is obviously wrapped up in that. And one of the biggest things that gets brought up is this idea of imposter syndrome. It's the I'm not enoughness. I don't really know what I'm doing. Everybody else is smarter than me. Who's going to believe me? I'm a fraud. I'm whatever. Now, you don't
Yeah.
actually believe that imposter syndrome is real. So tell me more about that.
Yes, and let me also just anchor this in. This is not a belief. This is science that I'm about to deliver you, okay? So this is not like, let's discuss it. What I'm telling you is scientifically, imposter syndrome is a fallacy. And I wrote a whole article on it. So I'm going to send it to you because sharing
Yeah,
it would be amazing. It's just a beautiful blog thing.
sure.
Okay. So the first thing that I just need to say is the very healthy, biologically brought to you self doubt was pathologized by our society to make us believe that we have some sort of syndrome and there is something wrong with us. I mean, can we just baseline and look at the phrase imposter syndrome? And then what happens with that, because we've all been taught until you come and hang out with us long enough that the outside creates the inside. So we look at that and then we use that. And this is the part that really just gets me really, really revved up, because you are amazing and you are unique and you are 1 in 400 trillion and the world needs your gifts and only you and your uniqueness. No one can do it like Lauren. No one can do it like me. No one can do it like each of us. Even if we're in similar service providing types of spaces, you are unique to you. And if you continue to subscribe to imposter syndrome, you use it like a crutch. You use it like a reason. You talk to the woman to the left and the right, and you're like, but I have imposter syndrome. And then she goes, oh my God, me too. And then you spend the next days commiserating instead of getting it done and making your impact in the world. So clearly, I get heated because I love you and I know what you're capable of. So
Mm,
here's what's happening biologically. Anything different than what you've done before, your system reads as a death threat to your survival. Okay. So let's say you being interviewed on a huge platform, right? And you've never had that scope of interview before. And all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, I'm having imposter syndrome about that upcoming interview. Okay. Here's what's happening. As soon as you think about or go to make the move outside your comfort zone, the first thing your brain does is it scans for evidence and it goes, do, 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 do. Has she done this before and lived to tell the tale? Do I have evidence that she has been exposed to this many people at once? And if it doesn't, then it immediately signals your fear response. And then your fear response, because it loves you and is wired to keep you alive, says, okay, I know how to get her back. And it starts to populate thoughts of doubt, thoughts of fraudulence. It starts to literally intentionally go, well, if I can get her to believe, what if everyone's gonna laugh at you? What if you suck? You're a fraud. You've never done this. Who do you think you are? Then what happens in that moment is you attach to that thinking, you shrink back down and you stay the same. And to your system, that's a win,
mhm.
because it perceives that the only way for you to survive is to stay the same. But that's a real problem for us because we're entrepreneurs and we have big shit to do. And it all lives out there in the unknown,
And we're not
right?
cavemen anymore. There's
Right,
no
right.
lion attacking us.
We're not gonna die. No one's getting a tiger attack outside of Target, right? So it's like, yeah. So to really recognize that, go, okay. So right now, I want you to have a moment where you're like, all right, Tracy. So what you're saying is the doubt thoughts, the fraudulent flavored thoughts are being driven by my fear response because it's trying to get me to not do the big thing. It's not because I'm not an imposter. You simply haven't stepped into that evolution of you yet. You
Mhm.
haven't become that ring on your expansion. You haven't become that version. And when you do, it doesn't even occur to you when those interviews come up, it doesn't happen anymore because you familiarized it and you have evidence for it. You are not an imposter. We all are beginners until we become experienced, right? It's like I used to say to my mom when I was back in the day, like looking for jobs in high school and early college, like they won't hire me. I have no management experience. And she used to say to me, it's so confusing because someone needs their first management job, right? Before you can become something, you have to have the first time doing it. So you are not an imposter and you don't have a syndrome and there's nothing wrong with you at all. What you have is a perfectly, perfectly functioning biology and a mind and body that loves you so much that it wants to keep you the same. That's it.
Yeah. And we're a really unique species because we not only have this idea of consciousness, but we can be conscious of our consciousness, which means that we can do something about it. We can change it. It's so
Yes,
exciting.
yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so you have a 3-day event coming up, which I'm signed up for. I'm so excited. What can, and you guys can sign up for free. I'll drop the link here in a second, but what can people expect to accomplish and receive and be opened up to during that experience with you, Tracy? Because I could listen to you talk all day. I sit here like moaning. I'm like, that's so good. Like I'm eating something savory. I'm like, yeah. Mm.
I love you. I can't. I love you so much. So the event is called Conduit, and it's happening next week, like you said, the 9th to the 11th. And the overall of Conduit is I'm going to help you heal the way you lead and show up so that you can actually feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. That's the baseline of what we're doing. I'm going to help you really understand it's not that life happens to you. And I know you guys have heard that, and you've probably heard life happens for you. And that's also lovely in an elevation, but I'm going to take you somewhere higher because life is actually happening through you. And
Mm.
that's what it means to realize you're the conduit. And we get to examine things like, well, what are you a conduit of then? Because if you're a conduit of fear and stress and perfectionism and indecision, you're going to generate more of that in your experience, right? So that's like the baseline of what you're going to understand at the level of your body, of your mind, and of your highest self. And each day is both teaching and a body activation of some sort, because the more I can get you into your body, the easier it is for you to direct this thing, because 80% of our thoughts are driven from our body up. It's not a top-down process that we used to think it was. The When we stay very with the science, which is what I do as the founder of the school and always learning and always looking at research papers, we learned that the body informs the mind.
Can you give
So
some
each
examples?
so you can try to think a different thought, right? Let's say, oh, you know what? I'm gonna give you this little micro story because it's really great.
Yeah.
On my way to dinner with my husband one night, and we had like a little, just like a little argument, nothing real. For those of us that are married, we know the ones that are real, and those are just like whatever. It was a whatever thing. But my body got really aroused because I was used to feeling a certain kind of righteousness and pissed offness. So we're driving to dinner, and this is me. Tell me if this resonates with you. And I'm staring, he's driving, I'm staring, looking out the window, doing everything in my power to show him I am not available, as I am rooting in my body in that energy, right? And he, because he gives me my work back sometimes, he's like, hey, like, nothing really happened here. Is there a world where you could let this go and we could have a great date night? And my body is just like, and my body is driving as it's more and more agitated and more constriction. It's driving these thoughts like, well, why should you? And he was this, and you don't want to do that. And just like that righteous in my head, right? And I'm trying to stop my thinking. This is why it doesn't work. This is why the body comes first. And I'm trying to like, okay, no, Trace, you can shift, you can shift. And then my body's just like, the hell you will. And I'm having this fight between my mind and my body, and my mind is losing because the mind will always lead because it's not top down. And then I go, hold on. I need to interrupt this arousal that my body is experiencing that's driving my limitation. So while I'm sitting arms crossed, I just start doing the deep breathing, one of the things we teach, and But I'm not even letting him see because I'm still not going there with him. You know what I mean? I'm like,
The ego is still involved at
I
this
mean, come on, like this is
point.
just, I'm just giving you the truth. And then all of a sudden, the more regulated I get in my body, all of a sudden I start to open and the constriction moves like this. And then I put my arms down. And then all of a sudden, like my heart opens a little. And I'm like, okay, you can make a choice. Well, who's the woman you want to be? What would she do? She would absolutely let this go. And because I regulated and relaxed my body first, my prefrontal cortex came back online and allowed me to consciously choose a different experience. And then I moved to the center, and then eventually I held his hand on the, the console, and we had a beautiful evening. But had I not known what I know and engaged my body first, I would have had a different trajectory.
And the tools on how to do that, which is part of what they'll get to experience each day.
Yeah, each day, yes. And that's what we pride ourselves on. I know that inspiration without practical application is quite useless. So we are profoundly focused on the how and giving you practical application in everything we do with you. So, as we move through the through days, it's teaching, it's body experience, and then kind of daily, this is what I want you focused on today, right? And this is how I want you to practice that. So that's the general experience of Conduit. Day one, we're focused on not taking things personally and your actual wholeness and eradicating your unworthiness. Day two, we're going to go into emotional agility, shame, fear, guilt, and really helping you release something like fun release work. And day three is all about helping you recognize your trauma responses and adaptive behaviors and how they're manifesting in your leadership scenarios, right? Avoidance, uncomfortable conversations, not saying what you want to say, things like that. Because when we can shift that, you're going to have a whole different experience.
Yeah, I'm thinking off the top of my head, things like not being able to ask for more money or like the rates that you want to be charging or
Yes.
not having a respectful relationship with client. I mean, this is
Yeah.
horrible to even say, but I have so many free mamas I've coached who have been more or less verbally abused by some of their clients because their inability to show up and express a boundary for themselves is just there's so much fear there around either repercussions or all of these different things. And so I can just from coaching so many of these women, I can think of so many tangible examples where they might be searching for a business practical solution, but actually they can find a lot of the solutions for their problems, not in a marketing or sales strategy, but through what you teach in the School of Becoming.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on every day in communicating this internal lever that's what we do all day, every day. It must happen either prior to or in tandem with the beautiful external investments you're making in marketing and sales and building a team and all those things, because all the external investments are not going to net what you want them to if you're still functioning in all of that tightness and constraint and trauma and adaptation. It just doesn't work that way, right? And you have this ability to be a profound leader and to come from this grounded place and, like I said, set that boundary and say, no, this is actually not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I'll be letting you go?
Yeah. I have one more question for you, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this is something you and I have ever talked about, but I have had challenges the last several years that I think were maybe instigated by things in my personal life with my daughter, which a lot of my audience kind of knows about some of the things we went through behind the scenes. But what was one of the surprising coexisting. I don't know if they're related or not. You could probably tell me, Tracy. But one of the things that was happening simultaneously was I was getting very jaded by the online space. We see a lot of people sort of rising to a financial success, or at least claiming they are, and they're making a lot of what I would say are kind of partial claims, I'm making $1 million in an hour and all these kind of things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, are people believing this? And then,
Yes.
it's that kind of thing. So that's kind of the pre-frame. My question to you is, I think we live in this world right now, for better or for worse, where people want instant gratification. They want, we've got Amazon on our door in 24 hours. We've got whatever. Like, what does it look like to do this work? What does it look like to start to apply these skills and experience change, knowing that everyone's different? But like, what have you seen? What have you experienced in your life? What have you seen from your clients? Like, I understand the long game of like marketing, right? Like, if someone's like, my business is dying, I need social media and fix it. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen, right? But what does
Mm-mm.
this look like when we're talking about this idea of becoming? Is this a lifestyle? Is this something where you can start to experience almost instant transformation? What talk
Mm-mm.
to me about like what are you selling? Like, what is
Ah, yes, yes, I love you. Okay, so
this?
the answer is it is both instant and cumulative. Okay. What
Cool.
I mean by instant is like, doing one thing or module one, let's say in Mind Magic, which is our level one in core curriculum. You are right into nervous system love. You are right into breathing and taking breaks throughout the day. And you are reporting, our mind magicians report back like, my productivity went up. I felt so present with my kid. It was the first time I sat and played and I wasn't thinking about my business because I was more regulated in my body, right? So we have these instant wins
Mhm.
because the changes at the level of your nervous system, which is why it's called neuroidentity evolution, it's based in that. And the nervous system, by the way, is the mind and the body, to be clear, is instantaneous and cumulative. It is not a quick fix, right? It is not come and do 9 weeks of mind magic and you can go back to sleep. That's not the game. This is a decision to realize that you are committing to your own evolution.
Mhm.
And it is an ing at the end, which means we're always healing, we're growing, we're ascending, we're evolving. And that's really our purpose, right? That's the gorgeous journey. Are you always in the same level of focus and rigor? Absolutely not, right? You come through and you've gone through all these iterations, and then you're making it safe for your system and you're kind of chilling in that place and you're learning how to slow down and have that pleasure. So it is absolutely a decision to become different and live differently
Mhm.
for the sake of yourself. And yes, the business and the finances, like, the results. Yes, our clients, they synchronicities. Oh my God, I got this new gig and I didn't ask for it. It fell out of the sky. I used my voice in an uncomfortable conversation, all the things you want. But I need to hit home that the most important reason that you would make this choice is because it's the thing that helps you love your kids the most.
Hmm.
You're
Tell me more.
co-regulating with your children. You're co-regulating with your children all the time.
Mhm.
And I know we want, because I have three, we want our children to be incredible, grounded, confident, empowered, contributing members to society that love themselves. And one of the funny things we do is we want that for them, but we don't prioritize it for ourselves. And then we wonder why they're not getting it.
Mhm.
You can't put them back into an environment with you. Like if you're right now helping your child grow or therapize or something like that, but you're not working on you, stop spending the money on that until you start working on you, because your co-regulation is a thing.
Mhm.
Why do we feel certain ways, like in my energy, right? As I practice and that's my only focus, it's because energy doesn't lie. Co-resonance, co-regulation. So if you're feeling jacked up, that's what your child is picking up, right? And behaviorally, like what you model is what direct influence and message you're sending into your child. So we do this work and we really do it for them, because that's how we build a better world and that's how we teach them to prioritize themselves.
So true. I believe this so strongly. Your kids are not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do
Mm-mm.
what you do. So if you don't learn to practice these skills, they're not going to have something to watch and emulate.
Mhm.
So I love that. I think that that
Yeah.
is so powerful. And it's such a great incentive, I think, for the women in this community, because I know how hard it is to do stuff for ourselves. And so to put it
Yes.
through that lens of like, listen, this is a double whammy. Like, not only do you reap the benefits in your business of this, but this is actually the best way for you to parent your family. I think
It
it's so
truly is.
powerful.
It is so powerful and it's so true. And, I'd love to live in a world where you doing it for you and you
And
prioritizing yourself was enough, but I'm fully aware that it's not. And that's
snap,
because your
snap.
mother, and that's because your mother
Yes,
and your grandmother didn't model it for you. So do your
100%.
children and your children's children a
Yes,
favor and
yes,
be that change, right? It's
yes.
so, so important. I mean, we have mind magicians, they post their child's laying in bed, breathing, tapping, just like completely different experiences with no effort. No
Yeah,
effort, right?
yeah.
Like you said, the kids just go, oh, that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah, love it. Well,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know we need to wrap up. Is there anything else just about Conduit or the School of Becoming or this event or anything else that you have not gotten to share that you think that these free mamas need to hear right now?
I simply want to say that you are whole. You are whole and you are worthy and you are enough. Anything that fights against that is the lie. it's the lie. And everything is constantly that you wants you, and it's making its way to you. And the way to open the portal to receive it is to go within and do this work. Not because you're not whole, not because you're broken, not because you need to be fixed, not because the magnificence of you could ever be improved upon, but because your purpose as a spiritual being having a human experience is to go within and heal so that we can all live in a more loving, progressive, conscious world.
Hmm. I love it. Guys, I'm going to be at Conduit. I've dropped the link in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or my team or Tracy or Tracy's
Yeah,
team. Tracy
definitely.
actually has an amazing team. If you guys don't know, Jenny love it, is on her team. She's a longtime free mama, which is how Tracy and I originally got connected, which is just
Yeah.
so fun to see that come
I
full circle. I love
know.
it so much. So we will see you guys at Conduit. And Tracy, thank you so much for coming and talking to us today. And I just always learn so much from you, and I always leave feeling just inspired and energized. And even if that's all I get from those 3 days, I know that that will be worth it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being who you are and building this magnificent, magnificent space.
Thank you. All right,
Love it.
guys, have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see
You
you at
too.
Conduit. Thanks, Tracy. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.